Where are we holding up?
Somewhere I'll never suspect.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my Justice League 2 and Justice League 3 video, the breakdown of the story that Zack Snyder revealed with all of his storyboards. He pretty much gave us what the entire story for all the Justice League sequels is going to be, so there's a lot of stuff here. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Obviously, we just got done watching the Justice League Snyder Cut, but careful for spoilers if you did not watch that movie, because like the last 30 minutes of the movie and the epilogue tagged on at the end pretty much tell you where the story is going next in Justice League 2. But what happened is way back in December 2015, Jim Lee said that Zack Snyder brought him onto the project to draw up these giant, like 10-foot tall storyboards with the pitch for Justice League 2 and Justice League 3 to convince the studio to spend the money to make all three movies. But what I'll do is I'll just read what the story is and talk about where this all fits in and what the studio, Warner Brothers, and Zack Snyder has said about the chance of us actually getting this story of the sequels in some form or another. But the big question is whether or not that's going to be a movie or it's going to be as a comic book. So he starts by saying, although originally pitched as one film, we believe the character arcs of our heroes and villains, along with the epic battle with Darkseid, which unites the League, the world, and the entire DC universe, warrants two films, instead of just doing one sequel. He goes on to say, however, this does not mean that you have two films centered on Darkseid's invasion. Rather, Justice League 2 would be a very grounded, personal, and character-driven film that would follow the Justice League both together and separately as they mend old wounds on the road to becoming better and stronger heroes. While Lex Luthor recruits a league of his own, the Injustice League, made up of revenge-driven villains introduced in the hero's solo films, Dr. Maru from Wonder Woman 2. That was actually Dr. Poison. I think originally in Zack Snyder's idea, they would have introduced Dr. Poison in a bigger way during the sequel to Wonder Woman. Captain Cold from the Flash movie, Orm and Black Manta from the Aquaman movie, and the Riddler from Ben Affleck's version of the Batman movie. These villains would link all of the DC films together. Now remember, this is back in 2015, so it's the original version of the spin-off films. Those wound up changing a little bit, like the Aquaman movie changed a little bit, the Flashpoint movie has changed a little bit, the Wonder Woman movies have changed a little bit. Then he goes on to say, like Empire Strikes Back and the last Harry Potter film, Justice League 2 would end with a cliffhanger, revealing only at the end of the film Lex and his League are connected to Darkseid, then flash forwarding 5 years into the future where Darkseid has taken Earth. That's basically the nightmare future that we see at the end of the Justice League Snyder Cut. Then he goes on to describe the hero's arcs through parts 2 and 2A. With Lois's help, the back from the dead Superman will learn to become Clark Kent again. Feeling more human than ever, he and Lois start a family. Remember how they teased Lois was pregnant? Wonder Woman would reconnect with the Amazons and her mother, eventually becoming their new queen and rejoining these isolationist warriors with the outside world, meaning connecting Themyscira with the outside world. Aquaman, with the help of Mera, will bring the Seven Kingdoms together, Seven Kingdoms of Atlantis originally, becoming the one true king, building a new alliance between the oceans and the surface. That was what the whole Unite the Seven tagline was about. Unite the Seven Kingdoms of Atlantis before Atlantis sank into the ocean. The Flash will free himself from the past, releasing his father from prison with Cyborg's help and learning how to master his time-traveling abilities, literally becoming able to be in two places at once. Cyborg will evolve both into the modern-day god of the digital age and into a human once again. And Batman will ultimately sacrifice his life for the unlikely friends and the woman he loves, leaving behind a legacy that will never truly die. But he starts with the plot of Justice League 2 by saying, the Justice League united. We open with the Justice League in action during a natural disaster, working as the efficient, powerful team they've become weeks after the first Justice League movie ends. They act together, they save lives. In the aftermath, the Justice League return at the only headquarters they know, the Batcave. Bruce secretly meets with Lois, both of them still searching for Lex Luthor. The meeting ends after Lois tells Bruce that Superman needs her more than ever. Bruce knows Lois is hiding something else. Probably the pregnancy. He was going to set up this whole Batman-Lois Lane romance through the sequels that would play out. Then he talks about Lex Luthor recruiting the Injustice League. Meanwhile, deep in the Brazilian jungle, Lex locates Dr. Maru, that's Dr. Poison from the Wonder Woman movie, still alive, experimenting on herself, prolonging her life, and testing new chemical weapons on unfortunate human lab rats. Like an obsessed stalker, Maru has spent decades collecting information and artifacts on Diana and the Amazons. Now that Diana has become known in the world, Lex offers Maru a chance at revenge. The same revenge he wants on Diana's friends, Superman and Batman, Maru accepts. In the Atacama Desert, with Maru's help, Lex breaks Orm and Black Manta out of the desert prison where they were imprisoned at the end of the Aquaman movie. Outside of Central City in Iron Heights Penitentiary, Lex finds Leonard Snart, Captain Cold, where he was left at the end of the Flash movie, or where he would have been left at the end of the Flash movie, and offers him a chance to advance his weaponry and take down the fastest man alive, upgrade his cold gun with alien technology. Then there's this whole sequence with them intercutting between the Injustice League and the Justice League characters. In Metropolis, Superman asks Lois Lane what she was going to tell him as he hears the second heartbeat inside of her. Back in the Louvre in Paris, Wonder Woman and one of her fellow Themyscirans who came to warn her about Steppenwolf. Apparently in the previous version of the movie, there was an Amazon instead of them just firing an arrow, so an actual Amazon came to warn her about Steppenwolf. They're trying to find a way back to Themyscira, but because of the magic that Zeus put on it, they can't do it without some help from the Lasso of Truth. Then as the Lasso of Truth is giving Diana all these visions, she suddenly sees a vision of herself as a dark Diana, as the goddess of war. Battling with Superman, she kills him. This is probably another vision of a potential Knightmare future. Back in Central City, Barry Allen is at the courthouse with Iris West and Cyborg, and with the help of the rest of the Justice League, they agree to reopen his father's case. So this is just the beginning of him getting him out of prison. Then back in Atlantis, Aquaman and Mera are in this fierce battle to unite the 7 kingdoms of Atlantis. They're at the last 7th kingdom, called the Unseen, and even though he winds up beating their king in battle, he refuses to rejoin the other 7 kingdoms. So he hasn't completely united, quote-unquote, the 7 at this point yet. Then back in the Batcave, Cyborg is helping Alfred upgrade all of Batman's technology to hyper-tech level. Batman moves deep into the Canadian wilderness doing recon following a lead on Lex Luthor and winds up running into the Riddler, who seems like he's been awake for days, maybe weeks. He has this giant beard, there's writing all over the walls, it's kind of like the inside of the cell at the end of the Shazam movie. He says, "Luthor asked the question and I had to know the answer." He reveals that Lex Luthor came to him with information about the anti-life equation. Remember, that was going to heavily figure into the sequels. It was the big symbol that was carved into the ground whenever Darkseid and then later Steppenwolf smashed it with their weapons. Apparently there was this riddle connected to the secret of the anti-life equation, and the Riddler solved it, and that's what drove him crazy. Then as he reveals all this information to Batman, he winds up killing himself. Then as Batman returns from the wilderness back to the Batcave and Alfred, they reveal that Lex Luthor has found all 3 mother boxes. Then at the Three Rivers Dam, helicopters survey the area as Lex is on the scene and activates all 3 mother boxes. His true plan to destroy the Justice League and take the power of the anti-life equation for his own. Then as the 3 mother boxes are coming together and Lex Luthor thinks that he's achieved his goal, a boom tube opens, Darkseid and Deathstroke step out. As you would expect, Darkseid promptly takes the power of the anti-life equation for himself. Back in the Batcave, Superman learns of Darkseid's arrival and tells Bruce, "Please protect Lois Lane. She's my world." She then reveals to Batman that he's not the father of her child. Superman is the father of her child. Then back at the site of the battle, Lex Luthor reveals Darkseid has the power to kill Superman, and Darkseid acknowledges him and says, "I don't want to kill him, I want him to submit." So that sort of explains why you have this evil Superman in the Knightmare timelines. And Lex Luthor gives him the idea that it's all about the girl, Lois Lane, saying that if you want Superman to submit, you have to kill the girl. Even though Superman is supposed to be able to beat Darkseid, be that powerful, the reason why he's able to kill Lois Lane is because he uses a boom tube to instantly travel to the Batcave and kill her. So that's how you wind up with this scene, the vision that Cyborg got from the mother boxes of a potential future with him cradling her dead body and then breaking and Darkseid turning him. And all while this is happening, you have all the other members of the Injustice League enacting these attacks in different Justice League people's homeworlds. Like Dr. Maru goes and unleashes this poison gas on Themyscira, killing all the other Amazons. Then apparently back in Atlantis, Orm and Black Manta were going to kill Aquaman, but Mera would survive. That's how she winds up in that Knightmare timeline, but not Aquaman. Then back in the Batcave, Batman finds out what's happened with Darkseid killing Lois Lane. Superman turns on him immediately, becomes evil Superman, and tries to kill Batman. Then just as Lex Luthor is basking in his victory over the Justice League, evil Superman shows up and burns him on the spot, and they sort of cut to black the transition as Lex Luthor starts screaming and gets lit on fire. Then they cut to 5 years later, and you're in the Knightmare future, like everything is a wasteland on Earth. Like Batman is taking the survivors to the Batcave, or where the Batcave used to be. Then we meet a new Green Lantern. It's implied that it's Kilowog, the dead Green Lantern from Cyborg's vision that the mother boxes gave him. But this is him when he's first showing up to planet Earth. His ship is crashing and he's trying to contact someone from the Justice League, but no one's picking up. Batman finds him and saves him from the rubble of the ship. Then a bunch of parademons swarm them, but they get saved by Deadshot, another Batman villain showing up who's now working with him in the future. Flash shows up, helps them destroy the rest of the parademons, then Green Lantern explains what's been happening in the rest of the universe with Darkseid and the anti-life equation, how he's paving his way, conquering the universe. They go back to the remains of the Hall of Justice underneath Wayne Manor. Mira shows up with some drinking water. Then Batman explains their time travel plan to Green Lantern, how they're going to send the Flash back in time to warn him at the correct point in time to save Lois Lane so that Superman doesn't wind up getting turned and they're able to defeat Darkseid. Cyborg then reveals that he's created the cosmic treadmill from the comics that Flash is going to use to time travel. So while Flash and Cyborg are busy sending Flash back in time, you have Batman and the rest of the survivors trying to distract evil Superman with this big operation. Darkseid sends in this huge army of parademons. So you have this massive battle going down. Superman winds up killing Batman, which I think is from this flash forward vision that Cyborg gets. But here's the way that he kills him. Superman kills Batman with the original kryptonite spear that Batman had intended to kill Superman with in Batman v Superman. But Batman's plan is word. Flash travels back in time and is correctly able to warn Batman at the right point in time and place to save Lois Lane. Batman's able to push Lois Lane out of the way of Darkseid's Omega Beams just in time to save her, and Superman shows up enraged, but this time, instead of going after Batman, blaming him for Lois Lane's death because she's still alive now with Superman's child, he flies at Darkseid in a rage and starts fighting him. Then in present day, Darkseid starts a full-scale invasion of Earth with his fleet, like he talks about at the end of the Snyder Cut, and they have their version of the Avengers Endgame final battle on Earth, with pretty much every character from the DC universe you've ever heard of coming back. And the way they end things seems very similar to the Iron Man Avengers Endgame ending, with him sacrificing himself to snap the Infinity Gauntlet. Batman winds up sacrificing himself to land the killing blow on Darkseid and destroy him completely. Then in the aftermath, Lois Lane eventually gives birth to her child. They name it Bruce Kent after Bruce Wayne in honor of his sacrifice, but remember, she's with Superman. He doesn't have any power, so he doesn't become Superboy or anything like that. But in 20 years, there's this ceremony where Commissioner Barbara Gordon is honoring Batman's sacrifice 20 years before. She tells Lois, when are you going to tell him, looking at her son, that the secret she'd been keeping this whole time is that her son, Bruce Kent, was secretly Bruce Wayne's child. As Batman's true son, he winds up taking up the mantle of the next Batman. Don't know how everybody feels about that, Lois Lane giving birth to Batman's child. One of the spiciest things I've ever heard of them doing in a DC movie. Then the moment you go out on in Justice League 3, like the epilogue or the post-credit scene, you see a shot of Bruce Kent in the cape and cowl rising from the shadows in Gotham with a bat signal shining in the sky. So he actually was going to show us what Bruce Kent Batman was going to look like, what his costume was going to look like. As you can see here, this is Jim Lee's mock-up of it. His gauntlets look a little bit different, but the Batman symbol on his chest is very similar to Ben Affleck's Frank Miller-inspired Dark Knight symbol. And for those of you that really wanted a Man of Steel sequel like Man of Steel 2, Zack Snyder did say that Justice League 3 would have very much been a direct sequel to Man of Steel. It would have just been done inside the Justice League trilogy. So that's a whole lot of story there. It'd be cool if we got to see it in film at some point, but the way Zack Snyder talks about it, the studio has no plans to make those movies, but he and Jim Lee did talk about doing a comic book version of this to pay it off. So even if it's not in the actual movies, I think we'll eventually get to see them do a version of this story. Everyone post all your reactions in the comments below. What do you think about Zack Snyder doing this as a comic book story? He also did say that he wanted to do a prequel story for Ben Affleck's Batman in The Dead Robin, sort of his version of A Death in the Family. But while you wait for everything, everyone click here for my full Justice League Snyder Cut ending and end credit scene video with all those Easter eggs, and click here for that brand new Suicide Squad trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.